instances, because that's what they would do. Would you like to live on? I don't think you'd have trouble with it.
I thought about the mother-in-law.
And perhaps that reflects on what his wife was like too. Maybe she is a reflection, because oftentimes that, that will happen. You see one, you might see what the other would be in some time. And so, I mean, the things that we do have written about her seem to be positive. And those words from 1 Peter are interesting because they talk about the Christian woman, if you will, in a very positive light. And I think it happens to be that he had some models in his home that he could follow and say, to be like them. That's what it seems to me. Of course, I'm putting several things together to come to that point. But I find it fascinating that he was so close to the synagogue. I think that shows religion as an important part. Of course, it was in the fisherman's quarter in the town, so maybe that was part of the reason as well. But if you're choosing a home to be right there, maybe it was Father's home originally, which is a good possibility based on the culture type thing.
And the fact that he was rebuking the spirit, because as you said, a high fever, the last thing most people would do from a high fever is get up and start serving people and being a hostess.
Something major happened there.
Yes.
So when Jesus does miracles, Jesus does not do, it's not the hocus pocus big thing. He just, she's well. It says he rebuked. It didn't say what he said. It didn't give a long, fancy speech, but he rebuked it, be gone. We hear that sometimes. It's gone and off. So Jesus does not do it in a way that's very ostentatious. He does it in a humble way, it seems to me, often. And I don't know, it's kind of what Peter sounds like too.
Yes.
And it is amazing to me that from having a high fever to immediately getting up and serving, you would think, Mom, it's okay, just lay down, it's okay. But it says something about her. I think it says, first of all, something about the healing, that it was complete and whole and immediate, as it says. She was perfectly fine, as if she never had been sick. Not saying that she wasn't sick, but it's as if she had never been sick. And then secondly, she's ready to go. And that tells us something about her. Because I know people that you get them well, and it's, I need to rest up some more, and you can do this and that. I'm not looking at Cindy saying she's not that way, I think. She's looking at me in that way, right? That's how I know. Okay, I think we're done, unless you have something else you want to talk about with regards to that. Only a couple of verses. We'll be looking at more next time. You find the pictures interesting? Is that helpful? If I can find some more like that. If it fits, I'll put a few more up. I'll go over them one more time. It's interesting to me how near this is to the ocean. I said ocean. To the lake. But every time you see a sea, this is the alleged location right here. So we're talking very, very close.
The water is so blue. Is it clear like that, ladies?
No, it's not clear. It's sort of the blue sky shining off it is why you see it so blue.
I think
it's
the
not
picture,
dirty looking, but it's not blue.
if I put a right type of filter on, I can make it very lovely.
But it's the things line up, Capernaum, Magdala, and then on the other side is St. Peter's, the other St. Peter's Church. So on that side of the sea, there's quite a bit going on for St. Peter's Sea.
It's interesting that this was one of the largest synagogues that they found in Israel.
Yeah.
That's interesting, in the town of Capernaum. That's just an interesting fact and such. And that they've been able to reconstruct it in this way. And that it was built over a first century one, which we know, according to the Bible, who would have done that. Mr. Tim?
It's interesting that the pictures show a very placid Sea of Galilee, but apparently it can get very rough.
Go back to the map. The map doesn't show everything that we need to see. Well, you can see a little bit. You can see that there's some hills around, and apparently the wind will start to come up from here and it can come up quickly and make a very placid sea become anything but. It can happen very quickly, and then just as quickly it can stop. You know, when they're out on, Jesus' friends are out on they're going down from here all the way down to here, you know, that's a long trip, and they're out apparently someplace out here. It's about 9 miles across at its widest spot, if I remember correctly. You know, if you're in a small boat, even one that's this size, a little bit bigger than this, I'm not sure I'd want to be out there when the wind and waves are coming at me like that. I would be scared to death too. Of course, none of you would be, I'm sure. Yes, ma'am?
It makes me think about, you know, these places and how we're trying very hard to pinpoint them, and that's really interesting to us. But when we were up on the mount in Jerusalem, we were with a Druze guide instead of a Christian guide, which made a big advantage because Druze are accepted by the Jews and the Muslims. So we got to places like Hebron where we couldn't have been allowed to go with a Christian guide or a Jewish guide. And so when we were up there on the mount, he did kind of a ha-ha, because he took us to a spot which he said is now believed to be directly over the Holy of Holies. So we actually were on the Holy of Holies, and they got this big, impressive dome and stuff, which isn't over the Holy of Holies, apparently. So, you know, it's kind of a humor God has about where he puts things and what he does with them after.
I put this picture back up because the part that you don't see there, it's on, I don't think it's on the part I gave you either. This is supposed to be the traditional Mount of Beatitudes back here, where Jesus would have spoken from. So it's very close to that as well. Going back to the Holy of Holies, if you want, I can pull stuff up. I can't do it right now. I don't have it on this. But remember the Dome of the Rock, which is what you're speaking of, is built over a rock, or supposed to be built over a rock, which is the location of the Holy of Holies. And if you follow Jewish tradition back, this is, remember somebody had a rock for a pillow? Remember, who was that?
Jacob.
And so that rock is supposed to be the place where that was there when they built the temple. That's the location of the temple. And so in Jesus' day, that rock would have been the only thing in the Holy of Holies, since the Ark of the Covenant had been taken before, don't know when. You know, according to a movie, it's in Washington, D.C., but we know that's not true. Probably by Assyrians, if not Babylonians, someplace that maybe even could be found. That part of the movie could be correct. It could be found at some time in the future. But there is nothing there, and so that same spot, that rock, is where, according to Muslims, as I understand it, the reason the Dome of the Rock was built there is this is where Muhammad came to that spot, at least visionary or whether, and went to heaven. I mean, that's the spot. So all of these things, and that's why you will not see the Dome of the Rock taken down and a new temple built there, as some wish to do, because that would cause a mass war of global proportions, as Muslims ever. I think that's the third holiest spot or something like that. I don't know if you can.
His point was, he gave us lots of information like you did, and his point was there's been new evidence that they misunderstood the rock, and it's really over here. It isn't far. It's not even 84 steps.
I don't know. Again, when you get to archaeology, it's all we think, we believe, this is why. You know, and so when we're talking about this location, there's some evidence that seems to make it fairly realistic because of what other people have done at this and what the parts they have found there. But,
and
you know, maybe we're making too much of a house, but I think it says something about the man. Yes, ma'am?
And they're doing more archaeology in the city of David. They're just working with the Denningers, who will hopefully be traveling again in January. They just posted some things again. The archaeology continues in the city of David, and they continue to find sections, bringing two sections together with another piece that they found. So it's amazing, all of that. Like you say, it was very things built on top of it.
And remember, this is a small area if you think about it.
Yeah.
We make it, and it seems so large, and it's not. that large an area. You have to remember that. So let's close with prayer. Let you go on your way. We'll get to stuff next week as well. Gracious Lord, we thank you that you helped Simon Peter's mother-in-law. And help us as we consider what type of person she was, and Simon's wife, and Simon as we seek to grow in our own lives of discipleship. So bless us in our study, and bless us and keep us safe this week, we ask. In Jesus' most